was born, started listening to music, thought noise was cooler.
I thought it was basically just gonna be chainsaws like attacking each other, and like, you know, really just factory sounds.
What does a headache sound like? Well, it sounds like this.
Hi, my name's Matt, and I'm in the band Panda, and I play noise. Sometimes it sounds like music. So I got into playing noise music probably as soon as I started playing music, like practicing a baritone and a trumpet before I learned how to play. I played awful, and I still remember those sounds, I guess. But as soon as I started recording music in a rock band when I was in my late teens, I started to, I had tape decks and microphones, and everything was awful. It was awful equipment. It was not good stuff to use, really, old tape recorders. So just having that stuff, I'd make my demos with my band, and then in my free time, I would just bang on pots and pans, record the rain. And that's kind of where it all came from. I think that's what a lot of people start with, is like they fall in love with radio static on the radio, or they hear a song on an album that, on a Pink Floyd song or something very ordinary that everybody knows. So you hear that one part where there's a synthesizer, and some people just fall in love with that one thing.
Music, to me, is any auditory expression of emotion. And I mean that in the most plain form. I could take a bat and beat a cinder block with it and mic it up and say, that is music. A lot of people have a more strict definition, which kind of bothers me. The idea of putting strict definitions on any art form kind of irritates me.
The main instrument is this oscillator keyboard, which you'll see, which someone gave me. Which is from the 60s, I believe, although I can't really find too much information. And then I've also used this kind of crappy Casio that someone also gave me. They're both just played through mainly delay or distortion, so they sort of, accentuate what they normally do.
My name's Gabe Keane, and I love noise music. I've always been interested in technology and the interaction between technology and humanity, the human body versus a machine body. Where's the line now between technology and the human body was still open. It was still an open question, and I think a lot of noise music today is implicitly, at least, dealing with that question.
Well, I'm not too familiar with with the noise scene or the noise genre. I'm hoping I'm gonna like it, you know.
I'm Felix Ramirez, and yeah, I'm a student, and I am not a fan of noise music. It was an interesting experience. I definitely wasn't expecting what I saw, and I don't know. I think it was. I think I might have been like one of the only few people there, which was even more strange. But I don't know. I come from a more, I don't know, traditional mindset where music is, you know, it's a little more composed. It has a time signature. It's in a key. It's got a style to it, and so I guess I tried to appreciate it for what it was, but in the end, it just sounded like noise to me.
Sometimes with noise shows, I know that the audience is smaller. With a rock band, of course there's going to be, you know, most people would listen to that music, you know, in a certain neighborhood, you know, there's like this is New Paltz, there's a bunch of kids who like hippie rock jams or like metal bands or rap groups or whatever, so you can do that kind of thing here and a lot of people will show up. With a noise band, you kind of have to expect no one sometimes.
I don't think that it didn't seem to bother them that much, you know. They just seemed happy to just play, you know, to me and like the other two people that were there pretty much.
I mean, like I always went into it, I guess the reason I kind of went for it and continued to do it live and also knowing that people wouldn't be into it is that I guess I never really cared. I knew that people I knew were into it enough that they offered me the opportunity to play, so I knew that there was at least someone out there or a few people out there who were interested. But, you know, I mean, in a way it's sort of like, well, having people love it is, you know, or let me rephrase that. Having people hate it is almost, in a way, just as good as like, having people love it, you know, like, you know, it's sort of ironic and kind of funny that like somebody could get totally pissed off by something and like someone gave me the opportunity to stand on a stage in front of people and sometimes even have them pay money to come and see it, and it totally pissed them off.
And that never has really bothered me because I record all my shows and post them on the internet if I think the performance is good. But it doesn't really bother me because I think, you know, because I've even looked at video, like I've seen major bands. I've seen major noise artists like Prurient or Burning Star Corps play to 10 people. Those guys came from Chicago and Detroit and, you know, like everywhere to play this show to a couple of college kids, and they put all their hearts into it, and that really matters to the few people who see it. So I feel like the personal impact that you can make with noise music can be a lot greater in some ways because it's more personal.
I guess it sort of gives you confidence to keep going, you know. It's like, obviously, well, someone liked it and then someone wants me to do it again.
I kind of feel like it's okay. Nobody being here is okay.
You know, when you go to a show or when you go to see a band, you know, what these noise artists do it's much different. I was standing there for like 5 minutes and my head was pounding pretty hard. Like I had a pretty bad headache.
Yeah, I don't think the popularity of noise I think it could ruin it in a way. Yeah. I want it to stay. Like once it gets that big, we'll all probably start doing something more minimal.
Yeah. like stuff that American Tapes, which is the Wolf Eyes, John Olson's label, they do stuff and they'll release 18 copies, 15 copies, blah blah blah, and people pick up 2 of them, 3 of them, whatever. Because, you know, what are you going to say if you're selling them? No, you can't have them. Right. And then they just those things immediately, forget it. You can get $150 for them 2 weeks later after they sell out, you know. And you know, I think that's a problem with that. You know, it just ruins it for everybody. It's not like, because with something like noise, it's like it's a community. I mean, even if you're somewhere where you can't go to a lot of shows or like there's not a lot of people around who are like into it or whatever, you still have to like keep that connection and support people who are doing it as much as you can. And I think just turning it into like this sort of like dry collecting business really is like not the point.
I think it's all kind of weird, like trying to make something like a commodity. It's just turning your art into a commodity, and I feel like the noise scene, like we made a bunch of tapes. Our tapes are the most popular things that we make, and they're made on a boombox, and people love that. They love CDRs, especially with dirty noise. It's handcrafted. They're numbered. You number them 1 out of 100. It's part of an edition, and when you have those things, you feel like you're part of something.
I just feel like I constantly have to watch where my mind is while I'm doing it. I mean, am I buying this because it's a fetish object, or am I buying this because I want to listen to it and enjoy the music?
That's part of what I love about it. It's like abstract expressionist painting, where like, you can't control how you're going to throw a splab of paint down on the ground, but you can control the color, and you can kind of guide it. I kind of feel like this music's very closely related to abstract expressionism and impressionism, I guess, maybe a little bit, and Dada, definitely. This is totally Dada, like garbage art, taking garbage and calling it art, putting it on a pedestal.
It's all art to me, just a different medium. But for some reason, there's some sort of like social divide, and a lot of people view music as just strictly that, and art as what I just listed, the painting, dance, all of that. And I started taking this class it's actually last spring, and it was a class on electronic music and the idea of processing sounds. And the term the teacher used was sound art. And I think sound art is the term that people use, like individuals who don't see music as its own art form, they use sound art to bridge that gap.
I guess it serves a purpose as like abstract art. Well, at least to me it does. It's not really musical in it's not really music in its traditional sense, but it definitely serves its purpose as art. So I guess I can appreciate it that way, but not as an art form. I can't listen to it on my iPod.
I think if there's a statement to be made from noise music, it's a political one, kind of, in the same way that that kind of MC5, for example, is a good example. It's a cultural and political statement, I think, on one level, but it's weird because at the same time, I know a lot of people, and I think this way myself sometimes. I go back and forth between that and just thinking that it's just something that people feel compelled to do for whatever reason because it makes them feel good.
I actually remember a show that we did back in November, and it was on a Saturday, but the preceding Friday was like the day from hell for me. Like it was just like, and I woke up Saturday and I was like, I don't want to wake up. It was just like it's such a crappy night that led into a really crappy day. And we set up and we were outside just hanging out before the show, and Matt said, yeah, well, why don't you get all that out tonight? While we're playing, get all that out. And I was like, oh, yeah, why not? And that's exactly what I did. And it was kind of like I was just purging all of that negativity out. And sometimes, again, like I said before, it's very cathartic. It's a healing process. It's a cleansing process. And, if I'm really happy and I'm doing it, I'm just, I'm feeling good. That's good. That's going straight to number 1.